Welcome to MOGUL, the place where business, lifestyle, and possibilities collide. Hello, my name is Charity Smith. I'm Miss MOGUL. I'm a business leader, global speaker, trusted economic development strategist, media personality, author, advocate, and lioness mom. We're taking you next door and around the world, conversing with business leaders about the news of the day, emerging business trends, and introducing your family to possibilities that will help you live life to its fullest. Listen, we're really excited about our special interest stories where we connect you with authentic faith, spirituality, and abundant thinking. Tune in right here, streaming live on this platform or on a mobile device near you. And listen, don't forget to subscribe to this show and discover the mogul in you. We're excited to connect with you, and we'll see you streaming live right here.
Welcome to MOGUL Talk. Welcome to MOGUL Talk, where wealth and lifestyle converge. Welcome to MOGUL Talk, where Welcome Welcome
Oh, you are in for a treat today. I have the pleasure of hosting a dynamic leader today in the personality of Dr. Rhonda Hollins. Now, let me share a little bit about who she is. Dr. Hollins is the co-owner, I should say, of Hollins Financial Group here in Houston. She's also a coach with John Maxwell. Holds a doctorate, a doctorate degree in organizational leadership. And she is just a dynamic leader with many, many years of financial literacy, investing, helping leaders to develop a financial strategy for themselves and for their families. So without further ado, I want to bring into the studio Dr. Rhonda Hollins. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mrs. Mogul. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Hollins. I'm well. Listen, there's a lot going on today. We have folks working remotely, so there are a lot of moving parts, but I'm so glad that you are able to join me today. I am really excited about the conversation we're about to host. So many of the leaders here in the U.S., literally around the world, are thinking really intentionally now about financial literacy, about economic empowerment, not only for their businesses, but for their families. And what I love about the work you do is that you take the full person into view, you and your husband, Dr. David Hollins, who's not with us this morning, but I know him to be a dynamic mentor and leader as well. I love what you all do with bringing together not only business, but family, and creating a comprehensive legacy roadmap, if you will, for leaders to move forward. You have a mantra now that I find interesting. You are challenging leaders today to change their mindset, not just to become leaders, but to become gladiators. And when I saw the terminology, it really did strike a chord with me. I want to know, first of all, why did you choose that terminology for today's leader?
Wow, that you said a mouthful right there. And the thing is, if you look up and what the definition of gladiator is, that's a person who's willing to fight to the death, right? Fight to the end. And I think a lot of times because of distractions and things going on in the world, because they want you to be distracted, we lose that fight. And now is just the perfect time, believe it or not, even in the middle of a pandemic, that everyone needs to find that dreamer in them, that gladiator in them, that fighter in them, and run. like never before, because things are changing. The world is changing.
For sure.
Yes.
So I love the idea, though, of what you're saying about changing the mindset and fighting to the death. And for some of our leaders, they may think, wow, that's a strong approach. But I think today's times dictate a different mindset. And where we have been cavalier in times past, with really being intentional about our financial well-being, I think today the validity that we've seen in our circumstances, and what I mean by that is many businesses have closed down, have not returned, or they've had to pivot how we do business. And so now people are thinking, how do I survive this cycle? Because we know that business is cyclical, real estate is cyclical. Anything in life really is a cyclical pattern. Nothing stays the same, but not every mindset fits every cycle, right?
That's right.
So this one, you're challenging us to really dig deeper in it. To me, it sounds like you're asking for a deeper commitment, because the gladiator, to your point, is willing to give everything to make this happen. What do you think is the driving force, if you will, behind making this happen now? Because we don't want people to operate in fear, but certainly there is an urgency to make this happen. What do you think now has to be the driving force in developing the gladiator mentality?
I'm glad you asked that, because the driving force should be the fact that our world has been turned upside down, right? Nobody saw that coming. For a whole year, people were at home doing things they would have never dreamed of, becoming now the teacher for their children and homeschooling, right? Finding a way to, yes, ma'am, finding a way to work, right? Because if they couldn't go to the physical location, they had to work from home, and that was different. And then some people found out how essential they actually are, right? Because those businesses took their essential people, allowed them to set up and work at home, and some people lost their jobs. So with all of that happening, that should drive everyone to a point of urgency, understanding that now I realize the world has changed and there's a lot of things I didn't have control over, but what can I do now to take the reins back and have some control? And I think in the middle of any pandemic or anything else, we have to remember that there's always millionaires and billionaires that will come out of the worst things that happen in life. And history has already proven that many times over. So are we going to continue to watch history work that way and be victims and just wait and see what they say we should be able to do? Or are we going to bring out that gladiator, like I said, in us, and wake up and realize that, you know, there's some opportunities that I can take right now to protect me and my family and generations to come?
I love that. And so you and Dr. Hollins, have been working tirelessly in the community for decades, I can say now, because I've kind of tracked along with some of that journey with you all. You've all worked tirelessly in the community, educating leaders about financial literacy, about economic empowerment. What do you see is the prevailing challenge now? And then what is the prevailing opportunity now for people to now readjust and realign? So is it only mindset or is it systems? What are the challenges there? But then again, what are the opportunities? Because I want to go back to a point you made. Millionaires and billionaires are made in down cycles. It's not when the cycles are up, it's when it's down. Case in point, you buy stock when the market is down, you sell it when the market is high. So in your years, because you are not by any stretch a novice to this arena as a gladiator. Come on now. Come on, you've been slaying them for a while now. What is the prevailing challenge? But then what is the opportunity on the horizon now for leaders to realign and readjust?
Wow. You know, the thing of it is, and I'll just back up for those people that are not familiar with what Ms. Charity is talking about. My husband's a retired financial advisor, 40 plus years in the industry, has seen a lot, but in his years, and what I'm most proud of is that he would align himself as an independent and then therefore be in a position to help any of his clients with what they need, as opposed to what the company says, this is what we're going to sell. And that makes a difference because you want to meet the customer's needs. He retired. We actually retired and shut our office down. But in the middle of the pandemic last year, we opened that office again and started putting together what we call a financial empowerment school, where we will have modules and many different things available to teach and educate people about what's happening right now. As the world has us all focused in on the pandemic and politics and ongoing stuff that doesn't come to our neighborhoods per se to help us change anything, the world is shifted to digital and crypto. Okay, digital and crypto. And most people are not familiar with the terms or how it's going to affect them. So money has always been in that background for us on how to help our communities and empower our people as small business owners, even ourselves, on what's the best way to keep more of our money in the midst of the shift and the change. And we opened that office simply because we know that people are not prepared. You're not going to have to, you don't want to sit back and wait for the banks to shift to digital, which they've already done that. They have already worked on it. And what digital means is that, yes, we've been using debit cards and all of those things, and our money has been tied digitally to our savings and checkings account. But the digital term for today means that Big Brother can see everything that's happening with all of your dollars. Okay, everything, where it goes, and even have some control over how you spend it. And that is the thing that we want people to be aware of. Now, going and moving into a crypto space, that's totally new for everyone. But yet, and I'm looking at my phone right here that says Governor Abbott signed into law the virtual currency bill, recognizing the legal status of virtual currencies. Texas became the second state to Wyoming to recognize blockchain and cryptocurrency in its uniform commercial code, which governs commercial transactions. And since blockchain is booming in this industry, Texas wants to be involved. So with those two words, blockchain and virtual currency bill, who's talking to us, Ms. Charity, on the news, our banks right now, to inform people about what that means and how it can affect them?
So you bring up a lot before we have to go to a commercial break. I want to dive into a couple of things right quick, because I don't know if people caught everything that you just shared there. Here in the great state of Texas, now we're moving into this digital arena, digital currency arena. Texas, particularly Houston, let's speak to Houston, is a global city, a metropolitan city. So there are many cultures and economies running through the city of Houston simultaneously, right? So that makes crypto a great fit for Houston, and then too for the state at large. Secondly, there is no, it's not being regulated as tightly right now. So there's more ownership for the individual there to start allocating and building wealth. But I want to go back to something, Dr. Hollins, about the challenges, because you brought up something. Statistics say only about 2% of the population is even heard of. Now think about the population of the United States, and only 2% is even heard about the terminology of crypto. We've heard Bitcoin, but people really don't understand what that is. I want to take this quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about cryptocurrency, but also now, how does the everyday person start to now develop a mindset and a paradigm that's open to changing how the world works? Because that's really what cryptocurrency is saying. We're changing how we do business and even how we do life. And it's not always about money, it's currency. That's a whole different conversation. So let's take this very quick break. When we come back, I want to dive a little bit deeper with you. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stay tuned.
Are you ready to break out and break through? Wait no longer. Charity Smith, known as Ms. Mogul, has created a breakthrough course and mastermind called the Mogul Method for multidimensional leaders wanting to harness their creative power and release.
All right, so we are back. We had some technical difficulties there with the commercial, but Dr. Hollins, I want to come back because perhaps this is God just letting us know that we need to continue the conversation, right? I want to talk now about some of the challenges that people have with understanding the concepts of cryptocurrency. Why do you think first question is, why only 2% of the US population has heard about it? 2, what's the challenge in mindset? Because we're still thinking that there's value in the dollar, and what the economy is telling us by way of the coronavirus and the ups and downs of the US economy is that it's not about the money anymore. It's the currency and what people value, what they're willing to take for trade, right? It's the understanding now of how that works. In coaching people in financial wealth and literacy and economic development, what has been the challenge in you getting people to see things are changing and you have to adapt to the change?
Yes, and that is so key. The challenge is that we've all been educated a certain way. And that education, I'm telling you, has been locked in for decades, and we're still teaching people and our kids to do the same thing. You know, we go get an education, we go get a job, find that good job. Hopefully that works for 20, 30, 40 years. And the ones that have gotten out of that cycle can tell you it doesn't work. And it definitely doesn't work now in this changing world. The world has already changed. Our education system was based on what was going on in the industrial age, and they needed workers. So they were trained to go to work. Today, we're looking for dreamers. We're looking for entrepreneurs. And the thing is, to be an entrepreneur means you've got to realize you've got to get out of the paycheck mentality. It's not a matter of going for 2 weeks working and then getting a paycheck that doesn't pay for anything but your bills. And that's what it was designed to do.
So the job is just over broke.
Just over broke. Yes.
That's what the job says, just over broke. And I want to jump in because you brought up something, though, that I'm not sure everybody is connecting with, Dr. Hollins. The educational system now does not speak to today's needs. Different conversation, but we're talking about mindset. It really isn't about what your degree program, and I'm not by any stretch bashing it because my daughter is studying mechanical engineering, so I'm a proponent of higher education, but it's specialized knowledge that builds wealth.
Right.
It is not necessarily the degree, it's specialized knowledge. And it's getting people to adapt to specialized knowledge, I think, has been the challenge. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Take it forward.
Absolutely. And that's good clarity because we want people to understand education is important and has its place. Specialized. We no longer should send children to school not knowing what they want to do, spending money, coming out or staying in, right? Increasing that debt, still not knowing what they want to do. And then coming out into a world thinking that they're going to make these high salaries and that, you know, they're going to get out of debt overnight. And that doesn't happen. So we have to change the way we think and be open. And openness means that sometimes you got to step outside of the circle, right? And you can't keep looking at what the media is television programming you to think and do. You have to do something different. And that means connecting with like-minded individuals that can help change that. So our biggest challenge, getting back to your initial question about that, is finding those individuals and helping people to deprogram some of the stuff that they've learned and be willing to learn again something different that meets today's needs. So the challenge is there, but the fight must go on. And that's what brings out more of the gladiator, because we know what we're up against. You know, when you know your opponent, right, and you know how they operate, you know how to work around that to help get the results that you want. And
so there are so many opponents. The first one is being mindset. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. The second one is experience, right? Mm-hmm. And then the third one is fear. And you definitely need the gladiator mentality to tackle old experiences, whether they be successes or failures, because sometimes our past successes can hold us captive to learning something new. We get programmed and we think this is the only way. And the world, again, is constantly evolving. And if we get stuck, and I find that, I'm going to go back into the soapbox for just a few minutes. I have a real passion for women in business, as you know, but now particularly people of color and women of color who are trying to just figure this out. We have not learned financial literacy in higher education. We are brilliant in our degrees, but we don't understand how money, finance, and economies work. We're smart people, but we don't always understand that. And so we grapple with new because it means risk.
Yeah.
And we're already coming from a background of fear. When you put risk on top of fear, many times we shut down and we go to the familiar. Hello, somebody. I know I'm preaching to not just, yes. And so what we're finding out, Dr. Hollins, is that the environment is just ripe for the kind of dreamer or gladiator or calculated risk taker. Informed risk takers can do extremely well in this environment with the right knowledge. I love the idea of bringing acumen to opportunity, right? That's where wealth is really built, when you bring acumen to opportunity. That's what you do with the Hollins Financial Group, certainly what we do here with Mogul Life Real Estate. And we want to start now having this conversation about changing mindset, because this is what we know. So many of our people were successful in business, but because of some of the tragedies historically in business, we have been afraid to try things new. If this worked for granddaddy, then I'm just going to pass this down the line and this is going to work for me in the 21st century. Not necessarily. So we want to take granddaddy's commitment.
Yes.
But certainly we need to redevelop the acumen there. Talk to us now about the opportunities that are available for today's leaders. What should we be thinking? You said that at the beginning of the show, this is the right time for dreamers. And I love that. But after we wake up, how do we apply everything that happened in this brain during the dream state? How do we wake up and now become visionaries, gladiators, and builders of the legacy we want to develop?
Awesome. Awesome. Well, first of all, people, I want to open this little segment right here with I watched a video just recently about a young Indian guy who made and I say ordinary, but didn't have a whole lot of money, right? And he saw an opportunity online. He couldn't even afford a computer, but he could afford a thumb drive. Ms. Mogul, just imagine that, a thumb drive, and he would borrow his friend's laptop so that he can jump on and engage in the world. So first of all, we know the internet has opened up doors for many people. Well, after he started working and having some failures at different things, you know, he built websites, did all kind of things, had failures. He finally was in a position to where he made enough money to make a $5,000 commitment or investment. And I use that word very carefully because I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm not an advisor here, but I'm just sharing with you his experience. And he made that $5,000 investment and turned it into a $1 billion business for himself. So go figure, look at 5,000 to $1 billion plus, and your life has changed overnight. That's the change even bigger than just winning a lottery ticket, right?
And it's better.
And it's better. So the gentleman still maintaining his lifestyle. See, that's one of the things that families have to realize. When you make changes, you don't drastically do things. You know, that's why lottery winners will win money and they're broke within a year because they've spent it all up, didn't learn how to really manage or use money as currency. It should be moving, but not moving towards liability type stuff, assets.
That's good.
So that's what we want to change the mindset of people with, to think from that standpoint and realize that anything worth having, there is some risk with it.
Absolutely.
And if I want to take it to a spiritual standpoint, think
Please.
about the talents. Think about the talents.
Come on.
The one that buried it was the one that said, hey, was told, you wicked servant, right? Mm-hmm. So we're not supposed to bury the stuff. We're supposed to go out and make things happen.
That's good.
Go back and read that again. That is so true. And it has always spoke to me, because I'm like, Lord, what you give me, I want to be able to do some positive things with it. And I want to do with it what you choose. So you got to look at that standpoint. Also, the fact that most of us have prayed for change. We've prayed for that Jabez prayer, right? And then here it is in your face. And you're like, what is that? That's not, you didn't know what it was going to look like or act like or who it was going to come from.
Come on, Dr. Hollins.
Yes.
Take us to financial church. Come on.
Yeah, financial church. That's right. So sometimes we got to break it down that way, because God wants the very best for us. Sure. And what I'm so impressed with is I see this as wealth transfer time. That's what it is. And some of us have been invited to the table during this wealth transfer time to take advantage. And we're going to go from what we thought was ordinary and what everybody was doing to a space that we didn't even see coming. And we'll be saying, oh my God, my cup runneth over. No, this is like pitchers and vases running over, just like the woman with the widow with the oil.
Yes.
So I'm just saying how we get to that point is being open. And my husband and I have been blessed just in the last couple of years to start taking crypto seriously, right? And looking at what does real wealth and currency look like, so that we can leave a legacy for our children's children. Mm-hmm. And it's not what we've been doing. Definitely not that. So the fact that people can see that now, and sometimes it takes a pandemic or, like you said, some major things happening to wake us up. Now that we're woke, we have to do some things different. We have to make decisions to be different and not be average families anymore. And that means change. That means disconnecting with some and reconnecting with people that are about change. So, what I love about what's happening right now is that in the midst of this storm, people can be free. And our goal is about time freedom and financial freedom. You need both. You
are not free unless you have both.
Yes.
You are not truly free unless you have both.
That's right.
I love that. We have a couple more minutes. So, okay. Dr. Hollins, if you could give a pearl of wisdom, a building block for financial legacy building, if you could leave our listeners with one thing that would change the trajectory of their financial lives, what would you tell people they need to start doing right now to start moving in a different direction? And maybe somebody is successful, right? Because success is relative. Mm-hmm. But we can always better our best. What do we need to be doing now to prepare for the wealth transfer that I absolutely believe is not coming, but is here? Whole different situation. We'll have to talk about that another time. Because yes, my cup runneth over. But what should we be doing now in preparation? Because even as I'm saying that, it sounds like a conflict, because we should have been preparing already for what we believe is here. But for those people who are still catching up, what do we need to do now to start changing the trajectory of our financial lives? And then how do we work with you and hear more about what's happening in the crypto world? And by the way, for those of you, spoiler alert, I'm going to be working with the Hollinses, the Doctors Hollins, on this. And so we'll post that information at the end. I don't want to run off with a squirrel. But how do we do this? Where do we start?
Where do we start? And that's a great question. The biggest thing is for people to understand, don't be afraid. Okay. I'm going to get with Miss Mogul and we're going to try to set up, I'll call it an emergency Zoom for those people that want to be a part of that emergency Zoom to get the specifics of what you can do right now. Because what I've learned and what I'm teaching other people, my husband as well, is how to acquire crypto income. You want money in crypto, not all of your stuff in paper fiat money, which is going away. And the value is just decreasing and decreasing as we speak, right?
Yes.
So you need to develop crypto income. We'll show you how to do that. We'll show you aspects of what it looks like to become your own bank. You know, we literally bank from our own MasterCard, which is an international MasterCard, not tied actually to any of the centralized systems here. And that's the key, is we want to introduce you to decentralization. That is what the Bitcoin is about. It's the people's money. So we want to introduce you to the people's money. And it's not all about Bitcoin. That's the granddaddy, and it's driving a lot because it endured since 2009, starting at pennies on the dollar when people didn't believe. And there's more pennies on the dollar cryptocurrency right now that can literally make you millionaires and billionaires. And that's what we want to introduce you to, because it's going to be about you becoming now your own bank and controlling your money and being in a position where you can do that with both fiat money and cryptocurrency. And that's what that emergency Zoom meeting will be about, to show you how to make that happen. And like I said, my husband and I are heavily engaged simply because when you know something that is better and you learn a little bit about it, even if you don't know the details, it's amazing where you can find yourself in the future. And that's what has happened to us. And so much so that I'm leaving for Dubai. And that trip is going to engage a lot of stuff that may be new to you, called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. There's people doing stuff on the blockchain that will be unbelievable. Some of you guys are in the real estate space. How about being on the blockchain with real estate? I actually will have some ownership in not virtual, but real estate on the blockchain. And that's without a license. So I will be able to share that as well in that emergency meeting, so you can understand what's coming your way and how you can, I'll say, extend and expand your business from where it is today, because you want to be in a position where you can accept cryptocurrency. And that's part of what that blockchain will allow you to do. So hopefully I squeezed enough of that in to know what to expect. Thank
Absolutely. You. What is the website for people to hear more about Hollins Financial Group?
Well, for one, not as much of that information of what I just said is there now,
okay.
But we're shifting to have a more of the school website available to you. And as soon as that is available, I will make sure it's working right now in maintenance. So that would be the place to go to know what kind of modules will be available.
Sure.
And exactly where to get more information. So
I tell you what we'll do. We'll act as the hub, because we are, Mogul Life is partnering with the Hollins in this crypto movement that we want to build here in the city of Houston. So if you want more of that information, make sure that you reach out to us. You can go to youcancreateyourown.economy.com, leave us a message there. You can go to Mommy's Creating Economies, leave us a message there, or certainly DM the show at our Facebook page, Master Your Morning with Miss Mogul, or right here within the confines of the show. I promise you, we will get you connected with the information. So Dr. Hollins, I am not surprised we're about 3 minutes over our time. That was no surprise there because I knew we would. This has been a phenomenal show, really helping people get acclimated to what's now, not what's coming, what's now. And so those people who are prepared to take advantage of what's happening now won't be wondering what's happening. They'll be making things happen.
Absolutely.
It has been a pleasure to host you today on MOGUL Talk. Please give my absolute best to Dr. David Hollins. Love him to life. And listen, thank you for joining me. Thank all of you, literally here in the U.S. and around the world, for this conversation. We're going to also look at some of the comments and hopefully get some of your questions asked with Dr. Hollins. And if we don't have the answers here, we're going to connect you directly with her and with her organization to make sure you get the information you need. Since I'm already over time, let me just take this moment to say this. You all, this is now. This is what you've been praying for. This is what you have been dreaming about. This levels the playing field. For all of you women who have been worried about the economic achievement gap, right? Where you're only making 60, 80, 90 cents on the dollar. You can create your own economy now. you can create your own dollar. So we'll have that conversation another time. I'm about to jump off on the tangent. Don't want to do that because I'm over time. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Dr. Hollins. We'll be back next week with our last show before we go international. Spoiler alert, stay there. We'll give you information on that. But stay tuned. We have another wonderful segment coming up, and I appreciate each and every one of you. This has been your Mogul Talk. Bye-bye for now.